Welcome to another Coach's Cat Chat. Joe Stewart here with head Linfield softball coach Jackson Vaughn, coming off the fantastic season last year, getting ready to head down to the NFCA Leadoff Classic in Georgia this weekend. Coach, how you doing? Busy week.
Yeah, it is busy, but excited to finally get to play some games.
Yeah, it's going to be always great competition at the Leadoff Classic. But what's January been like for this team? We all know this team trains in the offseason as hard as any program out there. A lot of time in the field house with the weather we've been having. But what's January been like? Couple of scrimmages the last couple of weeks, too. Marathon game this weekend. And what's the team energy like going into the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. It's been hard, though. It's been a lot of, just a lot of changing. We've had so much weather change. We had some really great weather in January where it was dry for like 10 days in a row, but it's cold, you know what I mean? So you're still a little limited because it's getting dark at 5 o'clock. But we were able to get outside and get quite a bit of work done during that time. But then we get the rain, then you got the snow, and then we're finally breaking out of it today. But we're leaving tomorrow, so that part's been hard, a little bit of a challenge to get everything you always want to get done. I think you get in the field house for a while, and that's great. In the first 3 weeks, you're trying to do some fundamental things and trying to kind of build a foundation conditioning wise. But then you get outside and you're on dirt, and I think your infielders just want to see the ball on the dirt as much as they can because that's what we play on. And I think the outfielders obviously. You can only do so many realistic things with them in the field house. You'd like to get them out in space where they can read balls off the bat. And so the time we've had outside has been good. Obviously, we can't complain too much, and there's teams in the Midwest that they don't get on the dirt for another week or two sometimes. So we'll see, and I think we'll see teams in the leadoff that certainly have had a lot worse off than we have in terms of being outside and stuff. Then you have teams like ETBU. I know, talking to their coach, they've already played 8 games before they even go to the leadoff. You know what I mean? So this is more like not to kick off for them. It's really just kind of continuation. So it'll be fun. Energy's been good, and so the kids are, I think, tired of practicing and ready to start playing some games.
Last year, 50-4, 28-0 in the Northwest Conference. Of course, the kind of incredible note there was just the first undefeated regular season in the history of Division III softball and just the second in the history of NCAA softball. Ranked number 2 coming into the year this year, behind, of course, the national champions, ETBU. Last year, disappointing way to go out, finishing 3rd last year when I know, obviously, this team had its sights set on the title. Is that finish last year fuel to the fire? I mean, a lot of great things accomplished last year, but that ultimate goal kind of eluded the team.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is kind of that every year, so I don't know that it changes a whole lot. I think we know it'll be tough. I think we got to replace, obviously, a great kid in the circle who was a big part of us getting there, and pitching is that position is so instrumental in the game and your ability to win games. You can be kind of lousy sometimes at 5 spots and you're good there. Everything breaks even. And so we know it's a different year, and just the nation's different. There's things we can't control outside in terms of how much better some teams have gotten, how much better some teams have gotten in the circle, things of that nature. So I think it's the same. We're just trying to get as good as we can and kind of see how much we can keep getting better. We'll get a good gauge where we're at this weekend. They'll come back, and whether we win or lose, we'll find areas to improve on. And our team's always been really good about trying to really hone in on those areas that need improvement and see how much better we can get as we head into the league season, and then hopefully play our best ball when we get to kind of April, May.
You obviously alluded to the loss of Taya Kelly there, one of the all-time greats in the circle for you and this program. That's a big hole to fill, even with as much talent as you've got coming back. I mean, again, she's going to be somebody in the Athletics Hall of Fame here in a while. Of course, Tyler McNeely was one of the best freshmen in the country last year. All-American as a freshman, National Freshman of the Year, so I guess the best freshman. Also returning, Tyler Warden coming back for her 5th year. Ashlyn Avon as well. A couple new arms, but Taya's a lot to make up for. How are you evaluating the pitchers right now going into the year? Something that often has certainly a difference maker in the beginning of the year, but you want to see progress over the season.
I think Taya's a hard kid to replace, I think, in a lot of ways, but I think our kids have been working really hard, and they all bring a little bit different game to the table, and so we just got to figure out kind of how to mix and match some kids a little bit. I think Tyler McNeely certainly our number 1 going into the year after the year she had last year, and she has all kinds of potential. I think we're just trying to still work out a few details on her, and I think there's some growing you got to do when you kind of evolve into that number 1 role. I think the number 1 kid always carries a little bit more pressure. You're seeing always you're playing everybody else's best pitcher. You're starting every series out, and you're going to be the kid that in some way sets the tone for the series. And so growing into that as a sophomore, I think it was great for her to have a good role model in Taya and kind of how to handle that role and do those sorts of things. So we expect big things from her. And then Tyler Warden has the most experience, obviously, of the other pitchers. She was kind of our number 2 years ago, and she does some good things, and I think has the ability to keep kids off balance. But I think we'll have Ashlyn Avon, who didn't pitch at all really until this last year. She kind of got back into pitching, and she does some really good things. She's just trying to find her way a little bit in terms of consistency, and but she does some good things and throws the ball with some good velocity. So we kind of are hoping she'll just keep trending and getting better and be a kid that can contribute heavy. And then Lacey Vassis is a kid who didn't play last year, trying to figure out some things, and so she's a new arm. Is kind of a sophomore freshman, and she does some good things. She's kind of a kid who gets the ball on kids pretty quick, and I think is really effective in our scrimmages. She's just been really effective, and so we expect to see her in the circle some too early on.
Offensively, we already know kind of what we're expecting there. You returned almost the entire lineup there on the defensive end and in the lineup. Fantastic senior class that has accomplished so much already through their first 3 years. Many of them impact players as soon as they stepped onto the field as freshmen. Kind of what's just led to this continued growth of them, even with them setting such a high bar early in their careers, and just what do you expect out of that group in their senior years?
I mean, expectations are high, but that's mainly set by them. They're a group that has just high expectations of themselves, and they're just kids who have high expectations in everything they do on the field, off the field, in the classroom, and so they're not, I think, real hard to motivate. I think sometimes you have extra motivation when you have done well because you kind of feel the pressure to live up to your past success, and that's almost something we have to guard against. Is sometimes putting too much pressure on ourselves because we're trying to live up to the fact that we were an All-American the year before. I think particularly if you go through a small hitting slump, I think you really sometimes feel that pressure more. You kind of feel like you're almost letting down because you're not living up to your own standard, and so we're fighting that, I think, a little bit at times. But everybody has so much talent in that class, and they'll certainly make up the bulk of the middle of the order in particular. But Claire and Bryn kind of anchoring things in the middle have always been, like you said, great players since they stepped on campus, and having kids like JC develop over her career, and K2's been so good for us. And then Ashley Sutton has been doing after coming off that shoulder surgery last year, was really kind of hampered a little bit in what she could do offensively, but she's really had a much better preseason offensively, so we kind of anticipate she'll have a big senior year, and so that's exciting. And then you kind of got your junior class that's also played quite a bit, in particular in Sydney Hess, who should have a great year. We anticipate offensively she looked really good in the preseason. And then obviously with our other two senior outfielders, Tiani and Sophia, those guys have been big contributors too, and so it's exciting to kind of see all that talent come back. A little scary as you look to the future and all those kids will graduate, but we'll certainly enjoy one last ride with them this year.
Yeah, and obviously defensively things are set there with that same group, and it seems like that's a unit that has been able to, again, progress throughout their careers defensively, and then last year really give some great support to Taya and Tyler in the circles. Obviously, J.C. Lavis made some incredible plays in the postseason at third base. Sadoff as reliable as they've come at first, and Bryn's grown into a terrific second baseman. Sydney at short, a couple of up and down moments defensively for her, making up for that offensively. But how are you kind of, same with the pitchers, kind of evaluating where the defense is right now?
I mean, there's a lot of good things. Certainly our understanding level of what we want and how to play certain things is really high. We have a lot of smart kids, but they also now are pretty experienced. And so I think in that regard, we're really good. I think, we'll be challenged, I think, more just because Teo was by nature a strikeout, fly-out pitcher. And so we don't necessarily have as much of that in our pitching staff. So I think we're going to get challenged more on defense just by the nature of the pitching style that we have. So we're going to get more opportunities on defense, and so I think we need to be good on defense and limit obviously mistakes, but also just be smart with how we're doing things. We just talk a lot about not giving up extra bases and not giving teams, I think, extra opportunities to score runs. So you really make teams hopefully get 3 hits an inning to score a run, and so I think that's been good. And like I said, Sydney's continued to develop at short, but all those other kids have now started for multiple years at their positions. And even Sydney last year was her first year really playing short. She played third for us her first year, and so her understanding level and kind of confidence, I think, is definitely gone up quite a bit.
And you mentioned your outfielders there, veterans there as well. Obviously, Claire, All-American in center field, but it's a crowded group You were kind of shuffling things around in the beginning part of the season, had some injuries throughout the year, and we saw some young players have some really impressive moments, both offensively and defense. How are you kind of managing that group? Kind of seems like those seniors will certainly have first dibs, but you got a lot of talent in the outfield right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one big kid we got back was Mira. Mira was probably playing at All-American level last year until she tore ACL midseason. So she's back close to full strength, but she's kind of anchored the left field spot. She'll still start for us in left field and most likely lead off. She's just as a talented kid. And so that kind of goes to right field. So we've kind of have the two seniors over there now with Sophia and Tiani kind of battling it out for the right field spot, and kind of anticipate them, rotating, I think, a lot of the year until maybe one of them elevates. And maybe if one of them does elevate and plays much better than the other one, then certainly we'll kind of go that way. But they give us a ton of depth and a ton of experience, and both of them are just great kids, and they're really good outfielders. And so we're fortunate to have quite a bit of depth in the outfield. Then we have some younger players that we're developing behind them, along with a little experience with Hadley, who got to play a little bit for us last year as well. So we feel pretty good about the outfield depth.
Looking to Georgia this weekend, obviously when you go to the NFCA Leadoff Classic, the point is to play some of the best teams in the country. You'll be doing that. First game will be against Trine, 2023 national champion. Top teams are also like Case Western Reserve, Tufts. Going to be great competition. As always, just what do you want to see out of your group in Georgia? Used to this trip, very familiar with this trip by now.
Yeah, I mean, the trip is pretty familiar for us. I think that you just battle the time change is one thing that kind of gets overlooked. We kind of talked about we'll play Trine at 10 a.m. the first day, and that's 7 a.m. our time. And so we're warming up at 5, leaving the hotel at 4:15 or whatever in the morning Oregon time, with very little time to really transition to the time change. So how we handle that, we have had some early morning practices during GN term, and our girls get up and lift a lot early in the morning. So I think all that stuff should help. Obviously, they're used to getting up and being physically active and having to perform in the morning. So, but that you'll was kind of worried about as a coach is how we'll handle that. And just playing, I think, some really good teams right off the bat. There's not, there's no easing into it this year. We're playing Trine, who's literally, without a doubt, one of the favorites to win the whole thing, I think, this year with who they have back, and they're well coached and a good team. And so we open up with them, and so you'll find out right away. But I think you just want to see how your team will compete, and if we have adversity, which I think we have to anticipate, we'll have some, that how we handle that adversity and how the kids learn. And then for everybody that doesn't have success, like how we adapt and how we adjust and how we improve, will play a big factor, and obviously how good we end up being as the year goes on.
Wildcats starting the season down in Georgia with the NFCA Leadoff Classic. They'll be taking on 2023 national champion Trine on Friday, 7 a.m. Oregon time, followed by the College of St. Benedict at 9:30 Pacific time. Wildcats ranked number 2 in the country and looking to get off to a strong start this season. They'll be at home for Northwest Conference play March 8th against Whitworth. Coach, thanks for the time and good luck with the trip this week.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.